Hi guys, welcome to Hoops Junction. Spurs, Rockets, Western Conference semifinals. The battle for Texas begins. I love this series. I feel like we're going to get a ton of matchups. I feel like we're going to get great plays all around, especially offensively, because a lot of people underestimate the Spurs offense and the Houston Rockets offense. You already know what you get. You get a whole lot of James Harden, a whole lot of three balls. So it's going to be a fun up and down series. I feel like the Houston Rockets are very confident after defeating Russell Westbrook's team after 5 games. But the Spurs are a whole different ball game. Now, on the Spurs end, they had a lot of trouble with Memphis, especially getting scoring other than Kawhi Leonard. And Manu Ginobili didn't play particularly well. Tony Parker, down the stretch, played well. But LaMarcus Aldridge has been struggling. And I wonder if it's something that has to do with his heart condition, maybe, and his conditioning a little bit. Maybe that has something to do with it, but they struggled mightily on offense. That series for the Spurs was a grueling series. As opposed to the Houston Rockets, it was more of a breeze. They just would take that big haymaker from Westbrook, and then they play their game. You know, once Westbrook sat down, they went on a run, the game was over. Every single time he sat down, game was over. And they just waited for Westbrook to make bad decisions. Now, this Spurs team's not going to make as many bad decisions as that OKC team. They have better players, they're better coached. So that's something for the Rockets to look out for. Now, as opposed to the Spurs, they're not going to face a team that's struggling offensively like the Grizzlies do at times. You know, Grizzlies did play a better series than they've done most of the time, but they had instances where they were up 7, especially Game 6, up 7, like a couple minutes left. They should have been able to close that out. You know, Kawhi Leonard would go off on a scoring spree, and the Grizzlies sometimes wouldn't have any answer. They wouldn't know who to go to. That being said, this series, I like this series a lot. Now, when you look at on paper or whatever, there was a stat line somewhere where they said the Houston Rockets were favored to win this series. I laugh at that notion. I completely laugh at that notion. Because the Houston Rockets there's no secret on how to beat them. All it is take away their 3-ball. They can't do anything else. As soon as you take away their 3-ball, James Harden is going to try to go to the rack. He's going to continuously try to draw fouls. As long as you do not reach in, you're fine. And I think Kawhi Leonard is disciplined enough to know not to reach in. I feel like the Spurs team is very, very disciplined enough to know this is something that we can't do. We can't reach. Lou Williams, James Harden, they had like 7 or 8 3-point foul shooting attempts. That was ridiculous. Half of them were James Harden running himself up into the players, which was unacceptable. I don't agree with that at all. I think the NBA should change that rule. You shouldn't be able to pick up the guy's arm and then act like you're shooting and going in the shooting motion. That's unacceptable. But here's the thing that the Rockets have to understand. If they don't get defensive stops, they're not winning this series. You know what I'm saying? Like, at the end of the day, the Rockets don't play any defense like how they're supposed to. And the Spurs are going to exploit that, especially on the interior. You know, you can't go in with Ryan Anderson against LaMarcus Aldridge and Paul Gasol. Like that, you're not going to be able to get away with that. The Spurs are going to pound them inside. They're going to get defensive stops. And they can shoot the 3-ball. It's not like, you know, you're playing against a Russell Westbrook team that didn't have any shooting. Now you're playing against Kawhi Leonard who can shoot the 3. Tony Parker can shoot the corner 3. Danny Green can shoot 3s. And Patty Mills can shoot 3s. In the same way that the Houston Rockets have a defensive guy in Patrick Beverly, Patty Mills is a nice defender that can get up underneath you as well. So this is going to be a series that's going to be pretty nice offensively, but defensively is going to be the key. And the Spurs have the key on defense. We've seen this time and time again with the Houston Rockets. If you take away their 3-ball, they become they can't do anything else. They're a one-dimensional team. They cannot do anything else. I've seen the Golden State Warriors completely tear out their heart, not allowing them to shoot any 3s. They'll make them pick up their dribble, and they'll crowd them and force them to pass. Now, Rockets have a lot of scoring, and that's something the Spurs don't have. So in order for the Rockets to win, they just simply have to outscore them, which I don't see you outscoring them unless you're playing a fast pace. And the Spurs are not going to play a fast pace with you. that the first series for the Spurs in the first round, that was like, if they face Golden State, that's gonna be the hardest series. That was their second hardest series. This is not gonna be as hard because they're gonna be able to control the tempo of the game. They're gonna play a slower game, slower paced game, and they're gonna get back in transition and stop three-point shooting. So this series for James Harden is gonna be tough. It's gonna test his MVP credibility and his caliber. But ultimately, I feel like the defense is just not gonna allow them to win enough games. So I'm gonna go with the Spurs in 5. I think the Spurs are too smart. I think they're too good. And I feel like their offensive struggles have been over-exaggerated. I feel like this series they're going to find a lot of open shots due to the simple fact that Houston Rockets don't play great defense. This is Vlad from Hoops Junction, where Hoops meets Hoopa. Peace.